Okay, today we will talk about our principles of play and our way of playing um, in the league. We've been playing this way for many years now. The principles are pretty much the same, but sometimes the formation changes. As far as formation that we play is typically we start always with goalkeeper, three in the back, three in the middle, wingers. We have good wingers up and down the field, and two forwards. Sometimes we change it to diamond in the middle, diamond in the back, and with wingers. It all depends on the availability of our midfield players and their form during that week, if we wanted to add another midfield player rather than just go with two forwards. Saying all this, it means that we start with 3-5-2. Sometimes we're also during the game, during the half, we change it to 4, okay, 2-1-3. Depends on the opponent, how they're set up themselves in the middle, so we can outnumber them or try to match number-wise, match them up number-wise. But typically we always start with 3-5-2. And then we see how the game goes from there on. Either we change it during the game, during the half, or in between the halves. But that's how we usually start. So like I said in the beginning, most importantly is the principles. It doesn't matter what formation we use or we play with, it's the principles of defending and the principles in transition to defend, and our principles in the attack and our principles in the transition when we try to counterattack. We'll talk about our principles of defending. When the opponent has the build-up, they try to build in this type of formation. I want our forwards to be ready to adjust and make some high press. Our principles of defending is really high press. I want the line to be very high. The wingers are in charge of the wingers. Center backs, typically, it's 1v1 situations. Okay, so these are the 3 center backs. This is our 6, and I don't mind that there are 1v1 situations. I want my 6 to be a little bit more free. He's the one that we rely on to win the ball before even it gets to our half, if there is any. So it's a high press. When the ball is played to this player, I want one of the 9 to make sure that drifts the ball to the wing. We want the ball to end up here. We don't want this player to obviously play a long ball, but we want this is to sprint as fast as possible. That's one of our principles in defending, is sprinting. And once we do that, I want my other number 9 to come and take care of the number 6, that he usually the player that they always try to build through in the league, as far as I've seen already. Tight. My 8 and 10 are tight on their midfield players. Like I said, this player is the only player I would like for him to be free. We want to make sure that their game is very predictable. So predictability to us is very important. Our goalkeeper is playing high. So what I mean by predictability is they try to play long and behind. Thankfully, we have very fast center backs. They read the game very well. Okay, and that's not an issue for us when we play press very high. It's a risk we take, but it's not an issue that we consider ourselves that we need to adjust for. So it's been like this. So we press, we win the ball, and we try to go counter press right away, or counter attack right away through our forwards. Then the midfield players that release themselves, and we find ourselves in the attacking half, the attacking goal. So that's one of the principles, or the principles of defending in the attacking half. The principles in the defending for us in in the back. Once the ball is in half line, we want to automatically be a line of 5. And we want to be 2 6s eventually, and then one player who is free. If we win it in our half, we can counter through him, and also he's in charge of the 6 when they start moving forward. He's in charge of their 6 when we start moving forward. So typically we want this, want to be match up, okay, if the ball is here. And it has to look like this at the minimum when we are defending in our half, okay? And we want always the ball to be around us, not through us. So we want to have the ball in a way we are defending. We want to have the ball mostly on the wings, here or there, okay? And if we feel like the ball is playing too much in our middle, then we have to adjust our formation a little bit so we can outnumber the middle, and we make sure that the ball is going around us, not through us. We want the game to be here. That's predictable to us. So it's either they're gonna play the underlap runs or they're gonna hit across, and that's for us is something we can read easily and we track very good. Our way of now we talk about our principles of attack. In a formation 3-5-2. Obviously they always want to press us as well. And I want my center backs to be in a formation where we can have angles. So this is our 6. I want my 2 or the wingers to be very high up the field to push the limits of the forwards. So we want to, in our build-up, we want to make sure that always there is angles and diamond shape in the build-up. Center backs are in position. You can play it here. So if it plays out here, I want this to be moving together. You know, to always make sure that there is a wing. I don't want my wingers to come all the way back here to collect the ball, unless if it's really under severe pressure. But typically what we want is we want to take advantage. If they do pressure, we want to take advantage of the space in behind. So if we were to have a long ball, then we're capable of it. But typically we want to build always in a diamond shape. Always in a diamond shape. I don't want my center backs to be too spread wide, you know, and then we suffer transition if there is pressure on the ball and they win it. And now we are in severe problems. Okay, so we want to build our game on a diamond shape. I want one of the 10s to also come in here and so form the triangle. Okay, and then the other 10 is also, the other 8 is also close by, and mainly is, can we find these type of connection? Can we find these type of connection? And we go in behind. Also, I have very good players in the back that I can range these type of balls, long balls, if we have to. So our way of playing out of the back is diverse. Sometimes we play short. All depends on the high press that the opponent puts on us, and sometimes we play long. So it depends on what decisions we need to make to really get out of our half to get into the objective, obviously, to get into this half and make sure that we are closer to the goal so we can score goals. That's the objective and objective. So those are the principles of attack. Is verticality. We want to go vertical as fast as possible. We want to make sure that we also, you know, have our wide players really touching the line, and then the forwards are pretty high in creating the depth to allow the midfield players to have much more room in between the lines. Okay, in the attacking half, obviously we're all moving up in the attacking half. We work a lot on our movements in the attacking half, extremely a lot. So what we want our players, midfield players, especially the midfield players, to be much more involved in the underlap runs. Once this player is underlap running, this player comes over here, so can we connect this triangle over here? Or can we play the ball from here to here, since we have two forwards and we have two tall forwards, that we can also play long ball or cross the ball in the box for finishing. Okay, and then we attack with 3 minimum plus 4 coming out of the box from here. So it's much of an underlap run. Those are the principles that we have, is the underlap runs. Okay, and then 6 is always in position where can we switch the play. If it's too congested, can we switch the play, and then we hit cross. So we keep it as simple as possible. Underlap runs, penetration via switch the point of attack, or penetration on the long balls from here to here. So once we are in the attacking half, our objective is always to go as fast as possible to the goal and create as many chances as possible. That's all about our principles of play. After mentioning our principles of play, there's a game we played. And we won 4-0. Our way of playing the first half was not satisfactory, although we scored the goal. We scored the goal on a counter press. We had our forward over here, this forward over here. We won it in the middle. We had on a high press, actually. In fact, we won the ball in the high press, and as soon as we win it in one of our principles of transition, defending transition, is can we find the forwards as fast as possible? Can we find the wings as fast as possible? Can we find the forwards as fast as possible from here on? So one of my 8s won the ball here and played it to one of the forwards, and it was a simple flick. He got in and scored the goal. So that was 1-0. What I was not too satisfied with in the first half is our 8 and 10 were too rigid in their movements. They were not dynamic enough to create an overload on the sides. So, for instance, if I have a player, if the ball is on this side, he would do an overlap run or underlap run. Sorry, he will do an underlap run, but our other 8 is just too far away from the action. So we couldn't connect the ball that we needed to connect here and the triangles. So between the halves, I asked for the mid 2 8s to be more dynamic and more dangerous in the attack in third, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Is in the second goal that we scored in the second half, is he made an underlap run. He came closer over here. We played this triangle over here and got in, and then he repeated the action, played it to this number 8, our forwards over there. He played it to number 8, and he was able to beat 2 players and scored in the first post over here. So the two 8s that I had in the first half, they were not dynamic enough. Both of them, they were involved in the build-up of the goal. The second goal, same thing. It's pretty much the same action in the second goal. We build it up, and then the 6 switch it to the number 8 over there, to our winger. Our 8 made the run in, and he laid off the ball. So our 10 came from behind, and it was straight shot on goal, and it was very, very good goal. So the 2 8s scored in a matter of 15 minutes. The first 15 minutes of the second half, both of 8 scored goals. Yes, not to mention that the forwards were also involved in our build-up from here to there. The third goal was scored. One of our center backs played it through the middles, played it to one of the 8s in this position. Again, I demanded from the 8s to be very close to each other. The 6 behind them to work on transition if there is a transition. And sure enough, he made the run. This forward checked in, but the ball ended up going a chip to one of our eights, and he ended up scoring the third goal. The fourth goal was similar play actually. It was a counterattack. Sorry, it was a counterattack. We won the ball from long here. We had a high press, so we had a high press, and the opponent was able to launch the ball behind us. Our goalkeeper came up. The two forwards obviously retreating back. Our goalkeeper came up, and he cleared it. And one of the forwards took it over, and eventually crossed it, and we scored the fourth goal. Yes. So our principles of play defensively was good in the first half. In attacking, our attacking principles was not as I expected or I wanted, but we fixed it, and because of the fix we've had, mainly the two eights, we created many chances, and the score was a factor to that, which is 4-0. Overall, the game was good. The principles were implemented. And there was another game where we had to change many things. We had to change the two eights, which we will talk about it in the next chapter or our next video.